I was almost 9 years old. And as I said many, many times, having had terrible asthma, my parents took me to the movies all the time. My father took me to see this film. He'd take me to see westerns and war films and musicals, but sometimes take me to the masterpieces. I don't know how, a guy who was working in the garment district for 40 years picked up on The River, to go see this thing. It turned out to be one of the most formative movie experiences. And I know I say that about a number of films, but this was something different and special, particularly the use of color. There's no doubt about that. I would say this and The Red Shoes are the two most beautiful color films ever made. But I think something else happened when I saw that picture. It was the first exposure to a very foreign culture. I mean, I was exposed to Italian culture, of course, but with different Italian Americans, Sicilian Americans, Sicilians, and having seen Italian neorealism on film. But this picture was different. It looked like no other movie I'd ever seen. It was the first color film to be shot in India, and it turns to be the first Technicolor film, first use of color by Renoir himself. I didn't know the name Renoir at the time. My family were not educated, and so I didn't know Renoir. But I think the color in the film affected me strongly, and no doubt the nature of the culture that it was depicting, albeit through Western eyes. It was very important. I think Renoir wrote in his biography, he said that the Indians felt that it was better for Westerns to make a film about India through Western eyes because they didn't think that the Westerner could really understand the culture and know the problems, really understand the problems of the country they felt. At times, people see the film today and they say, well, it's seen through colonialist eyes. Well, Ruma Godden, lived there. And whether it's colonialist eyes or not, it still has truth to what it is to be a human being. Primarily, it's the story of a young girl coming of age, but there's something much more universal about it. Especially if I'm a young boy coming out of the Lower East Side at the age of 9 years old, seeing this and identifying with the movie and feeling for these people. I guess some people would say, well, I like the exotic, in culture. I happen to respond to that. But it's more than just the exotic because quickly you find out it's not just exoticism. There are problems. The people live a certain way, believe things differently. So at first, if the gold and the glitter and the color gets you, it's still the real power is the humanity in the film, the humanity of the culture, what it is to be Hindu and to see life a different way. I don't know if the film shows that, but it makes you interested in that. I think it made me interested. So I had never been exposed to this sort of thing, particularly a film of this kind where, like the river itself, the Ganges River, the picture just flows. The story just drops you into the middle of a life at the point at which he's coming of age, where it's wonderful to be alive and also terrible things happen to young kids at the age of 12, 13, 14, that terrible time. It's a beautiful time, but it's a terrible time. They go through a lot of trouble, a lot of difficulties coping. And you feel this in this picture unlike any other, I think. I felt I was living with these people and that I had seen something very special because it was very different from traditional storytelling. The authenticity was beyond anything I had seen. And what made this one even more special was the use of Technicolor. Renoir felt that for landscapes in Technicolor, it was important to avoid subtle colors. He said because they become muddy or murky. And so the vegetation in the tropical vegetation was perfect for Technicolor because the colors were very strong. So I mean, the color was his first use of color was very, very important as a character in the movie. There's no doubt, as the son of the Impressionist painter, I think you could see it in this film, especially the landscapes, the way he frames trees at certain points. You also notice that there's a strangeness in a way, kind of an odd approach to the acting. It's different from other pictures. And bottom line is that many of them are non-actors. You had actors in it, but they all seem to blend with these other people who seem a little awkward at times, but ultimately the actors sort of fit in with the non-actors, sort of balanced. And for what you may be feeling a little uneasy about in terms of delivery or lines and that sort of thing, I think one gets past it right away because you know it's real. You really feel it. Maybe not fully as a 9-year-old totally understanding the sexual context of it and all of that, but I just felt the hurt. The film is very interesting because as it is like the river, the endless flowing of life, it has simplicity and a beauty of everything that is in passing, everything that's like transitory, everything's movement. Just life goes and then people die and then things come up again and life goes on. But also there's very disturbing moments in it. And I felt this when I first saw the picture. Somehow, along with the beauty that you see in the world around you in the river and the beauty of family life, there is that toughness and brutality in the picture, too, which I think balances out just beautifully. I mean, I've never seen anything of Indian culture up to that point. And I've got to understand, too, American audiences hadn't. Maybe in England they did, but we hadn't seen that. This was something that was so foreign to me and so fascinating. And I liked the dancing and I loved the music. It was very advanced for the time. Even though it was pre-New Wave, it just didn't worry about time or space, just went. Going back to Renoir's biography, he talked about wanting to make a film, and he read a review of the book by Renoir in New Yorker and went around trying to pitch it with his agent in Hollywood. I never realized that until Peter Bogdanovich wrote about it, that Renoir, I never knew that he was out of fashion or couldn't get a job in Hollywood. Here he was trying to make a picture, India, in color, and it would be interesting. Young girls coming of age, and we can get a good actress for it. We can get Marlon Brando he spoke to for playing Captain John, and it just never happened. And he realized, it wasn't going to get made until Kenneth McEldowney, who was a florist, fell in love with it. And when he looked into who had the rights of the river, it was Renoir. So got together and financed the film. But ultimately, of course, they didn't have enough money to lure Hollywood stars. So, in a way, what happened was that they made an experimental picture. I think it was his first really, he felt, an experimental movie in a way for the commercial market. Kids can see it around the world, For me, it was an experience I had with my father in the movies. Somehow the emotions of the family and the love in that film, I felt, let's say for him, and I couldn't express it, but the experience together was a loving experience seeing it. Then, in the late 50s, something unique happened in film history. A negative for Grand Illusion, long thought to be destroyed, or at least a dupe negative, was found. And the film was re-released as a major release for foreign films. And I sort of became obsessed with that film. I must say, after seeing that film maybe 40 times or 50 times, I still find that I'd rather see The River, but there was something powerful about that movie. I don't want to get into that now, but it's Gabin and Freinet and von Stroheim, and sublime sadness of it is remarkable. Then I saw Le Règle du Jeu, The Rules of the Game, which escaped me. It was very hard for me to get into understand the culture of the servants and the bourgeois in France. I enjoyed the movie, but I didn't quite go with its reputation as one of the greatest films ever made. I'm completely an outsider on that movie. I have no understanding of the culture and the world of that. But I think to the people in that world and all of Europe and all what was happening between the two world wars, I think it is a very, very important movie. But the body of work that I know as Renoir has inspired me. What I mean by that is, it doesn't inspire me to go make a film about Goodfellas in a bar in Queens and guys being shot. It doesn't inspire me, certainly inspire me for that. But what it does, and constantly does, is to inspire me to get up and say, let's make films again. The purity of his work, the sense that he really understood the people that he was dealing with, and the sense that he kind of liked the people and liked the actors from what I could tell. That is something to always keep you going. That's the well that doesn't dry up, is the Renoir cinema.